Another year has come and gone, and in that year we've had a plethora of movies released. While I haven't watched everything that's come out in 2024, of the movies I did see, there were a few that stood out, and I've whittled that few down to a list of 10 movies that I feel stood above the rest. So without further ado, here's my top 10 movies of 2024 in no particular order. The Substance is a movie that slowly but gradually built a loyal fan base. I go to the cinema a lot less these days than I'd like, but this is one that I felt compelled to trek down to the theater to watch, and I was not disappointed. What initially felt like an eye-rolling, overdone gimmick, with its stark, wide-angle shots, uncomfortable close-ups, smash-cut editing style, and over-the-top performances, slowly turned into what might be my favorite movie of the year. I did say no particular order, but I wanted to mention The Substance first because it impressed me the most. What's so striking about this movie is its total, almost pathological dedication to its theme. Hollywood beauty standards for women, especially for aging actresses, is a thoroughly discussed topic online, and there are plenty of think pieces about it for you to read, so I won't hijack the video for the sake of a lecture. But needless to say, The Substance reminded me of Requiem for a Dream, what many consider to be the most effective anti-drug ad ever made, and I'd agree with that. The Substance hammers home its critique of Hollywood's much-maligned misogynistic practice with Kubrickian-like precision, hilarious Verhoeven-injected satire, and Cronenbergian levels of body horror. While I do feel the film overstayed its welcome a bit in the final minutes, this is a movie that will haunt you for days after seeing it. And if Demi Moore is looking for a comeback, there is no greater way to announce it than her fantastic performance in this unforgettable masterpiece. M. Night Shyamalan continues his comeback as the rightful heir to Alfred Hitchcock with his unusual musical-themed thriller called Trap. His very formal, direct, and deliberate filmmaking style turns a lot of people off, and I do admit some of his quirks do occasionally make me scratch my head. But one thing he remains top tier at is his ability to fully lull the audience into a story with very specific camera, staging, and editing techniques. And he highlights the acting of his performers to such an extent that one can't help but pay attention to every single behavioral nuance and tick that his actors are giving off, further pulling you into the story. Trap was tense, unique, and while not perfect, Josh Hartnett's creepy, unnerving performance made you sit up and pay attention. I liked The First Smile, and am wary of sequels, which often disappoint, but Smile 2 took everything we loved about the original and amped it up several notches. What is such a simple premise is ripe for all sorts of story scenarios and interesting thematic angles. This time, it's a critique of the music industry and the silent suffering of many of its artists, turned into a poignant, terrifyingly intense descent into madness. And like The Substance in Trap, has an amazing standout performance from its lead actress, who sells every shock, tense moment, and dashed hope of this gut-wrenching horror experience. George Miller, the aging action icon director, showed everyone exactly how much he's still in the game with his now classic action film Fury Road. Similarly, but with what couldn't be a more different film, Clint Eastwood, one of cinema's aging treasures, continues to show the industry that there is a way to tell a compelling, shocking, and morally ambiguous story without resorting to flash or sensationalism. Eastwood's confident, assured, deliberate, but low-key filmmaking style remains a testament to the fact that these older styles are what built Hollywood, and every director owes him props for continuing to keep these techniques alive. Juror Number 2 is the best kind of movie, one that makes you think. Continuing the genre filmmaking dominance in 2024, we have a sequel to a movie that was a bit of a poster child of the 90s CGI blockbuster revolution, along with movies like Independence Day and Jurassic Park. Twisters had no right being this good. What I initially thought would be a crass, eye-rolling exploitation of the first movie's enduring longevity became a tightly constructed, well-made, exciting continuation of the franchise. Like Trap and Juror Number 2, Twisters is a movie that utilizes the simple but effective old-school storytelling techniques to suck the audience into the tornado of this movie's story. It's well-written, well-directed, and well-acted. Something that seems like it should be standard in Hollywood, but sadly isn't. And the tornadoes are even more realistic and scary this time. Glenn Powell is a breath of fresh air among the new crop of Hollywood leading men. Unapologetically masculine, confident and oozes bravado and swagger. He is the force of nature leading the charge of this movie. Longlegs made a big splash when it premiered last summer. Before it even came out, everyone seemed to be talking about the trailer. I'm always dubious of hype, because very often I've been let down, but there was something unnerving about Longlegs. Most of that had to do with its stunning visual style. The lighting, camera work, and production design all combined to swoop in over the audience like a black cloud of despair. Like Seven, another dark thriller about law enforcement with a shocking ending, Longlegs feels like an inevitable descent into a destined outcome that seemed like it could have never gone any other way. I wasn't the biggest fan of Nicolas Cage's bizarre, off-kilter performance, but I can't deny how effective it was in creating a menacing vibe. And A Violent Nature gets on the list mostly because of its bold and risky decision to put the audience squarely in the point of view of someone who usually hides in the shadows in these types of movies, the killer. This is both a benefit and a detriment to the movie. A benefit because the film's clear meditation on the relentlessness of evil and violence, putting us in the killer's POV, hammers that home brilliantly. But it's also a detriment because that style removes any possibility of a story or characters that we care about. The killer, like most slasher movie villains, is silent and thus offers no insight into why we as an audience should be so invested in this story. The other characters are usually nowhere to be found or too far away for us to get to know them. So the entire thing does become a bit tedious and boring after a while. But the filmmakers are onto something, and this style has potential, if they can find a way to balance it with the needs of the audience to get invested in a story worth watching. Caddo Lake was a pleasant surprise. Initially, I knew nothing about it other than browsing Google for something to watch, and the premise seemed intriguing. Produced by M. Night Shyamalan, stylistically it seemed nothing like a time travel story. Shot almost like an environmental documentary, the time travel situation almost comes out of nowhere, like some real-life scenario that suddenly gets turned upside down, with something that feels like it belongs in another movie. Like most time travel narratives, the various temporal story threads become confusing and often contradicting, and I was somewhat let down by the ending, but I can't deny that the film was compelling, unique, and worthy of a top 10 mention. Heretic makes you realize why Hugh Grant was such a big deal in the first place. While he's been steadily working over the years, his career left the spotlight after his various scandals over the years. But Heretic highlights Grant's considerable acting chops and his ability to charm you into just about anything. In this case, surprisingly, a dangerous, life-threatening situation. Going against his nice guy persona, he plays a man hell-bent on proving a point about faith, belief, and control, to the detriment of two religious girls on a seemingly innocent house call. Sean Baker is one of the most refreshing voices in American cinema right now. His ability to weave realistic and captivating stories in what feels like a true, lived-in setting might be unparalleled. Anora was one of the few movies hyped to the gills that actually over-delivered. An amazing odyssey through the tumultuous love affair of an unlikely couple, delivered with a genius-level directorial hand by Baker and brought to life by some amazing performances. I almost don't want to say too much about this movie for the sake of those who haven't seen it, because it's filled with so many wonderful surprises. This is the kind of film that reminds you just how powerful the medium can be. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting the like and subscribe button, as I'll be posting more content in the future. Thanks for watching.